Hi there, name's Nico, and today I'll be going over patch note 0.61. I normally do this a bit earlier than I have been, but regardless, we're still going to go over it. And I'll have actually some thoughts about Karla because I've actually had a chance to play her, since this is out after Karla's, and this patch has already been added to the game. So, first off, we have Karla, new character. You can see her stats here if you want to take a look. And her scaling is attack speed, basic attack amp, and armor pad, which is what all crossbow characters have in the game. So first off, we have our passive. Deckhand's draw. Karla cannot perform basic attacks, and her attack speed is capped at 1.1. Instead, Karla can fire harpoons by fully charging her readiness gauge over 14 to 10 seconds. And every 0.1 excessive attack speed grants Karla 1% skill amp. Harpoons fired this way deal 25 to 45 plus 100% attack power. Plus 4 the 8% target's max HP as skill damage, and land behind the target, knocking them back with it. Karla can only perform this attack when her readiness gauge is full. Projectile speed 18.75 meters per second, which is just normal projectile speed. Knockback activation 0.1 seconds after being hit. Knockback distance 1 meter, and it lasts for 0.1 seconds. I already say you don't actually level up your passive first, at least if you're playing at crit. I don't even think you. Maybe you do it if you do play amp. I actually haven't gone around to play amp, but with the meta build, or what people have found to be the strongest is crit, you don't actually level this up first because it just doesn't do enough damage to warrant use, because it's on a pretty long cooldown. So yeah, the knockback is quite nice, and you can use it to set up into a combo. Next up, piercing chain. Karla fires her harpoon in the targeted direction, dealing 100 to 120% of attack power as basic attack damage. Fired harpoon stayed hooked to terrain for 2.5 seconds. Karla can chain herself with up to 2 harpoons at a time. Chains break when Karla moves 9 meters or farther away from a harpoon. The cooldown of piercing chain is reduced based on Karla's attack speed. Max attack speed again is 1.1. Cooldown is 0.75 divided by her attack speed. So this actually, at 1.1, this will go down to 0.68. Actually, like, don't think I actually did the math for that. I just know because I've played her in game. Range 5.7 meters, affected by how much basic attack range is increased. So 0.25 plus base attack range of 5.45. So if you stack attack range on her, this will actually increase how far you can use this. The width is 1 meter, projectile speed is 22 meters per second, and it costs 0 SP. This is your main spell. You'll level up this first because it does a lot of damage because of 120% attack power. That's why you build crit, because your crit will hit for a lot. Yeah, so you'll just be spamming that. Salvage, your W. Karla salvages all chained harpoons, dealing 30 to 150 plus 55% attack power as skill damage to enemies hit, and slowing them by 25% for 1.5 seconds. If this skill hits an enemy, Karla gains 27 to 35 readiness, and the cooldown of grappling maneuver is reduced by 1 to 2 seconds for each enemy hit. Range is 9 meters, it's the same as her Q range. Karla and her or not Q range, it's the same as her like chain connection range. Karla and her harpoons, yeah, see, maximum distance is the range. Width is 1 meter, projectile speed 23 meters per second, costs 90 SP, and is on a fixed 3-second cooldown. So this is actually what you level up second, because since you spam your Q so often, you want to just kind of keep pulling this back to do additional damage, and it increases your readiness gauge as well. Next, your E, grappling maneuver. Karla grapples to the targeted harpoon and rebounds in the targeted direction, dealing 50 to 130 plus 50% attack power as skill damage to enemies hit. Targeting an unchained harpoon with this skill rechains Karla to the harpoon. Cooldowns 22 to 18 seconds. This is kind of a long cooldown for mobility spell, but it does get reduced by your W. The first rebound range is 5.7 meters. This is also affected by how much basic attack range you have. So if you have like Mithril Quiver, this will actually go up. This is like 0.25 plus basic attack range, which is default as 5.45. The second rebound range is 4 meters, and the damage range is 2 meters. This costs 45 to 85 SP. This is either used as a getting away tool if you're like kiting backwards, or if you need to catch up to your enemy to hit them with your Q, you use that. That ladder is a lot more riskier though, because if you use it to catch up to them, you're at risk of being turned on. So just keep that in mind. In shackling anchor, Karla launches a giant harpoon at the targeted location that deals 100 to 200 plus 50% attack power as skill damage, shackles all enemies within 5 meters and slows them by 25 to 35%. After 3 seconds, enemies still shackled and pulled towards the harpoon, enemies still shackled are pulled towards the harpoon, taking 75 to 275 plus 50% attack power as skill damage becomes stunned for 1 second. So this spell currently is really just used for the CC. Like, it doesn't do that much damage, at least again on crit. So you just want to use it to keep them CC'd so you can use your Q more often. And yeah, my thoughts on Karla. She's actually, I'll do an actual video on Karla that will actually go out tomorrow. So yeah, I think Karla's actually like decent. The main thing is just she's quite squishy, and she has a lot of skill expression between her W and her E, and using your Q properly for your W, so to make sure that you hit all of your W. So I don't think she's the easiest character in the game. I mean, I've already made a video on the easiest characters, but I definitely don't think she's in the top 10 easiest. So it's taking some time for at least me to get used to playing her, and I haven't seen an amazing Karla yet, or I haven't seen people use like her ultimate the most effective with crossbow skill. So yeah, Karla's actually not bad on release, and this is like the first time in a while, I have to say, which I'm kind of glad, to be honest. So yeah, we have Adina, the new skins. The new skins are kind of cool, to be honest. I really like Elena's skin because it fits her theme quite well, the Black Swan skin, and it looks really cool. I like the Elena skin a lot better than Adina's skin, because the Adina skin seems more of just a recoloring, and not really. I guess her dress is different. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the green. I like her base skin a lot because I think of like fortune tellers with like stars more, and like sky's blue. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Yeah, there's also new bundles you guys can get. There's a summer sale going on, and these are the new emotes. They did an update where you can actually buy the emotes separately now if you wanted to get those. I just wanted to point that out. The system, display characters and display players in matchmaking. This is huge, by the way. We know matchmaking can take a long time in certain modes or rank tiers. To help you better predict wait times, the number of players in matchmaking will now be displayed. Within queue, you'll now see the number of players looking for a match in your tier or neighboring tiers. This display number may not be exact and is for reference only, okay? Matchmaking is done dynamically and accounts for multiple tiers with overlapping ranges. For example, if you are in Diamond, it's possible for Platinum players to queue to find a match with Gold and Silver players. Based on the server's estimate on whether a game including your tier is likely to pop or not, the slight number of players in matchmaking may fluctuate. So just keep that in mind when you look at this number. The number of players in queue updates every few seconds and is not shown in exact real time in the entrance of load balancing on the servers, and that's honestly fair enough. This change honestly is really great. I've seen it in game and it's really helpful to like have an estimate. Again, just remember the number is not fully accurate. Like I've had times where it's like, oh, you're at 14 or 15 out of 18 players, and then suddenly it moves down to 8. And that's probably because half the players in that queue were put into a different tier than I was, and that's fair enough, as they mentioned. So, but I really think this is a good feature, and people have asked this for a while now, so I'm glad they've actually implemented it. Targeting improvements, so they've changed the hitboxes for dogs, wolves, bears, 30% increase, Alpha Omega 25, Wickline 10%, and Elena, I guess they thought Elena was too skinny, so she's kind of fattened up, I guess. That's all I can say. With a 25% increase in her hitbox, interesting enough. Other improvements, added sound effects and announcements for the expiration of the auto revival mechanic. I don't know how many sound or announcements they've updated. Like some of the VAs, like, do they pay more VAs to update it? I'm not too sure what they did. Cooldowns for test subjects are now displayed in replays in spectator mode. This is actually really cool. I didn't realize they did this, but I saw it yesterday, and this is a really cool thing, and I'm glad they added that. Wild dogs now wake up and bark when approached, but if the player stays near them for a while, they'll stop barking. This is also really good because it's really annoying and it gives away your position. If you're hiding in a bush near a dog to ambush someone, they'll just keep barking, so they'll alert the other player that you're trying to ambush them. So it's more of an advantage for stealth play when you're around dogs. Augments Head Starter. You now begin the game with clogs equipped, which this is actually really great. I've been running this Linux build that uses Head Starter, and my goodness, I often forget to equip my clogs when I get them. So I'm just glad this is finally implemented. Characters, we have Leon, Luke, Yuki, and Hedgen are cheaper. Yuki and Hedgen are free if you are currently in the game, but if you have an old account when Jackie and Aya were free, you can now get Yuki and Hedgen at a cheaper price. And they'll say 11 Kathy Sisala will be reduced on July 7th. So now we actually have balance changes. So first up, we have Crossbow Nadine. They are buffing her a bit. When I made my tier list video, it looked like Crossbow Nadine was still doing well, but I was wrong. I'm not saying my tier list is 100% accurate all the time. I do a lot of research into it, but it does take time for me to do, and things change with like the patch notes and such. So I underestimated or overestimated how strong Crossbow Nadine was, which is why she's getting a buff, which is fair enough. Daniel's also getting nerfed. Well, not also. Daniel's getting nerfed. His movement speed reduction is going from 35% to 20%. I didn't realize this is a character I probably underestimated as well, because I was looking at KR ranked, and he's actually... There's like 7 of them in the top 100, at least when I looked yesterday, which is kind of insane. But the way that I see most Daniels play is they are really good at third partying, and they kill someone and then they just leave. Like, they see someone low, they'll just jump onto them, use their inspiration, like their W, and then go R, it kills them, and then they dash out, and the person that was initially fighting him can't chase Daniel because he just has his Dustkier's movement speed reduction, which is why they're nerfing it, by the way, because it's too hard for people to chase after Daniel. That's fair enough. Tia, we're currently working on switching the true damage and Tia's pass to the skill damage to spoil the fact in the next update. So honestly, get ready to see Tia not be that good. Next update. I think this is one of the reasons why that's why she's so good in team modes, is this true damage. Even in solo, she's been like fine, but the nerfs they did last patch have kind of nerfed how good she was, or good she is. So this is more of a bug fix than anything, I guess. What they did is she'll now deal true damage even on when cast on enemy shielded by Sua's Curious Case. It's really weird. There's some interactions with Sua's Curious Case where it won't actually do damage to them if you're shielded by it. I don't know how exactly it works, but I guess fair enough. This is minor change, but this will change next patch anyways. That'll be skill damage. So we have Laura now casting Slice Step while using another skill simultaneously. Now makes Laura move in the direction she's facing. I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf. I've heard some arguments for both directions. But again, this is more of like, I guess, a quality of life change, not necessarily it's not a numbers change. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I haven't talked to specific like high elo Laura mains if this is a buff or nerf. But I've read somewhere it was like it was a nerf more than a buff, but I'm not 100% sure. Leon's being nerfed even after the last hotfix, which I also mentioned in again the tier list, which I kind of just explained how the meta is right now. That Leon, even after the nerfs, was still S tier, and lo and behold, I was right. So they are giving him a 3% attack power nerf on his passive. If you don't know, most of his damage actually is from his passive. Like, it's his W followed by his passive. Like, if you're on his If he's on his water pools, he does a bonus damage, which is in the passive, and he stacks a lot of attack power, so this will actually be noticeable, in my opinion. So we'll see how much of a change this does, but again, Leon, I don't know, Leon's just another character that is around bursting people, and if he can't burst people, he'll just be not used. So Rosie, her Semtex Bomb Mark II, which is her ultimate, range is going up by 0.5 meters, so a slight buff. Rio, Kudo Instinct, Q, Han Q damage is being nerfed. I believe Han Q is her short bow range. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But the increased Han Q attack speed when flow stacks is actually being buffed, and the die Q damage is being nerfed. So yeah, this makes sense. Like longbow Rio right now is pretty good, so it makes sense that they're nerfing it. Due to its excessive synergy with additional basic attack damage, Hanku's second hit was designed to not trigger a set 2, which is her passive. We're planning on activating it now that EBAD is deleted. Plan for updates in patch 0.65. So that's actually 4 patches away, by the way, because it's 0.61. So it makes sense for Rio to get a slight nerf, to be honest. Actually, this is more than a slight nerf. This is like a 10% damage nerf. This is kind of a lot, but again, it makes sense. I said Rio is quite strong. Marcus, we already know that Marcus is not strong at all, so he's actually gotten a pretty decent buff here. So his basic attack power is going up by 7, but this is mainly due to compensation of Axe attack power adjustments. This is because Axe Jackie is quite strong right now, so instead of nerfing Jackie, they're just nerfing Axes. But they don't want to nerf Marcus, so they just gave him the base attack power, so I guess sure. Movement speed is going up by 0.05. Axe Mastery is also being buffed on him. It's going by 0.6 per level, and for basic attack, and skill amp going by 0.3. This is actually a lot more significant than you might think. Violent Swing, his attack power is going up by 10%, and his Fearless Assault, his E damage scaling is going up by 20 at max level, with 20% more attack power scaling. And for the enhanced damage, which is when he has his grit at above 50%, this will also go up by 45 damage base, plus 20% more attack power scaling. So I don't think Marcus will be a top tier at all, but I think he'll be, you shouldn't disrespect him as much as you might be at this point in time. I don't think at this point he is super weak, so just keep your mind when he has like full grit that you aren't gonna be close to a wall, so he can wall stun you and get off that rattle. So I don't know if he'll need anything else. He might need something else, but this is like a pretty massive buff in my opinion. So Bianca, Reign of the Vampire Queen, current HP cost is going down, so this is a buff to her, really. Celine, as previously noted, Blast Wave has been adjusted, so target will only receive damage from 1 displaced bomb even when hit by multiple. This is because, again, Celine, right now, the #1 player in KR is a Celine player, and he's honestly super insane. Like, if you look at his match history, at least when I checked last, which was like a couple days ago, out of the last 20 games he played, he won 15 of them, which is insane. 75% win rate and high elo is insane. And this is also on Celine. Like, Celine is super good. You just have to know how to play her, because she's really hard to play. So this is actually a pretty big nerf to her, like, for really skilled players. And again, Celine's really like a very high skill character and the hardest character in the game in my opinion. So the damage is going up here, but this is because you only get impacted by 1 bomb instead of multiple. So this will technically be a buff for not as skilled Celine players, but a nerf to really skilled Celine players. And you'll see its target will only receive from 1 displaced bomb even when hit by multiple. So yeah, Shukai, I don't understand what this prompt says. Cooking's hard and Shukai is not very beginner friendly. We're trying to make him more accessible to new players, so they made him more accessible by nerfing him. I don't know what that means. Well, how is nerfing a character making them more beginner friendly? It doesn't make sense, but okay, like if they nerfed the stacks and then just added it to his base stats, okay, sure, that would make them more beginner friendly. But this is just a direct nerf. So he's losing extra defense when reaching 50 stacks, and he's losing, oh fine, he's losing 5 defense if he reaches 50, and he's losing 10 attack power when he reaches 100. I honestly didn't see Shikai doing that well, so I don't know why the nerfs. But this part about the HP cost is for the beginner friendly stuff. This nerf, again, it doesn't really make sense to me, but his HP cost is a fixed 40 now on his W, heavy meal, and is scaling up to max of 60 instead of 80 for Walk It Off, which is his E. Sua, oh, who knew after they buffed Sua 3 times in a row that she'd need a nerf. So Sua's passive is getting 5% nerf on her skill amp. I don't know if this will be enough, but the thing is, even when I was playing in KR, like KR ping, a lot of Suas were still missing their skills. Like, I'm at almost 200 ping, and I'm still able to dodge Sua's abilities to people who are playing at like 2 ping. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the skill of the player or what. But yeah, I don't know. Sua kind of fell off a little bit, actually, even without this nerf. But I think still in the right hands, she is really good right now. Even if you like miss a bunch of your abilities because of the passive. Sylvia, I rated Sylvia as S tier, but I guess Nimble Neuron doesn't see the same thing, so she got a buff. I don't know why, guys. I really don't know why. Okay, fine. The only reason I can think why is because she's not really beginner friendly as well. So new players struggle with her, but if you know how to play Sylvia, like, you can do a lot. That's all I can say. And she does insane damage when you know how to play her. And they ended up buffing her for some reason. I don't know. I don't have any answer for you. Okay, Adina, I said last patch she got like nerfed quite hard, so they're gonna give her a little bit of a buff here. So her astral trine, sorry, that yeah, like brine trine. The conjure movement speed reduction duration is being increased, so the movement speed reduction will last longer. And Faded Horizon, her E, conjure recovery per second, will be going up to a max of 30 more recovery per second base. And Conjure Recovery was mislabeled to have 20% scaling upscaling on Adina's release, even though it was actually 30, so I guess they just fixed the tooltip saying it's 30%. Very well, okay. Aya, I guess in KR, Sniper Aya was being a pain, so she's losing some skill amp mastery, which is, I guess, fair enough. I hate Sniper Aya anyway, she's just really annoying, so this is more bias on my part, but fair enough. Alex is being buffed. Okay, I overestimated how good Alex was doing in my tier list video as well, I will state that. And so it makes sense why he's getting buffed. The changes to his taunt duration actually hurt him significantly more than I thought it would. And he's pretty much fallen out of top tier KR because Alex is another character very ping reliant, and because of how like the taunt duration stuff worked, he can't do his combo as well as he used to be able to, so that's why he fell off, and pretty much no one picks him anymore because of it. So they're trying to give him a bit of a buff for that, but I don't think this will be enough. Yawn, movement speed reduction is being reduced, so this is a nerf, but his cooldown is actually going down, so this is a bit of a buff as well. So, I don't know, I think Yawn is, at least above average, so it makes sense that you might tone him down a little bit. Echion, Death Adder's extra basic attack is now affected by critical strike chance. This is a very interesting change. They're trying to make Death Adder more viable because everyone just built Black Mamba, and in KR they built Sidewinder as well because they like that you can have infinite shields on him. It's not actually infinite shield, but you know what I mean. You can spam your shields a lot more often with Sidewinder, but I think Black Mamba is just so much better. So I don't think people will build Death Adder even with this change, but it's a very interesting change. Elena is getting it buff because, again, Elena is not that good. And that's mainly because of how finicky her passive freeze is. So they're buffing her attack power scaling. The freeze duration is going up, and her ultimate, was it Danse Macabre? I'm probably pronounced that wrong, sorry. Damage is going up by 60 for base stats at max level. There's no change to the glacial field damage. So, I don't know. I don't think they really need to increase the freeze duration. They should kind of buff other parts of her kit so she doesn't have to rely on freeze as much. That's all, my opinion for it anyway. William's Q is fastball, increasing of attack range, or attack speed is going up at max level by 7%, but it is technically nerfed at level 1 Q. The thing is, William maxes Q first anyway, so this is a buff overall. I don't know. I have mixed thoughts about William. I've been told by William main, like top NA's William main, that William would actually be really good if the top tier characters were nerfed a bunch. And so it's not that he needs a buff, it's more that the top tier characters need a nerf. And I think I can say that about a lot of the cast, to be honest. Just the top tiers are just so high up that it makes a lot of other characters struggle. So regardless, he's being buffed. That's all I can really say. Jackie, they're shifting attack power on axes because, again, axe is like S tier on Jackie, and all the other weapon types aren't that great. So they're increasing Jackie's base attack power, but they're nerfing axes. Chloe Soul Link, the line damage per second is actually being nerfed, going from 75 to 135 to 60 to 120, so it's 15 damage per second removed in the line. I don't think it's the problem with Chloe. I really think it's just that Nina right now is too tanky. I know they nerfed her before to make her not tanky, and then no one played Chloe, and then they kept buffing it, and now she's back to being too tanky again. So I don't think this is really the change they needed to do. I didn't think people were complaining about the fact that the line damage was doing too much. Is that they couldn't kill Chloe, or they couldn't kill Nina, and then when they were about to kill Nina, Chloe would just press R and then you die. So yeah. Felix is getting buffed because Felix is still bad. So he's going up by 0.2 basic attack, and scale up's going up by 0.3. This is not going to do anything overall. I think he'll still be pretty weak. Priya, the portamento, her W. When a flower is already underneath an enemy, the new flower will bloom next to the existing one. So I guess that's a decent change. I don't know. I don't play enough Priya to know exactly how much this will have an impact on her, but fair enough. Fiora, I don't know why they're doing this. Instead of nerfing Spear, they're buffing the other weapon types. I'm kind of against this principle. I think instead of buffing the weak weapon type, they just need to nerf the strong one. Because as soon as they nerf the strong one, everyone's just going to switch to the next OP weapon. That's just how it is. So, yeah. They're going to buff Rapier scaling up by 0.4 and two-handed sword scale up by 0.4 as well. Scale up's not going to matter as much as two-handed sword because the only scaling up sword or two-handed sword is Almas, and that's a Tree of Life item. It's gonna matter more in Rapier because you actually have Sword of Justice. Well, Mistletoe's also a Tree of Life item at this point too, but you do have Red Panther, so I'm just kind of against buffing weapons that are weaker. It should just be nerfing stronger weapon types, but regardless, they did the same thing with Jackie. Heart, so her passive, additional sound wave basic attack damage when evolved is going from 15% attack power down to 10% attack power. This will be a nerf if you put 2 points into your passive, which most people do at this point, but there are some hearts that do only 1 point into her passive. So this will only be like a 5% nerf in that case, but if you put 2 points, it's more of a 10% nerf, and this is actually quite significant because Heart at this point stacks attack power, and most of her damage is from her autos, so you might actually see more Hearts do 1 evolution point into passive, 1 into W, and 1 into her Q, instead of 2 into her passive and then 1 into either W or Q. I personally prefer doing 2 into passive, 1 into W for Heart, but I haven't really messed around with Heart since this change to know exactly. I might try out 1 into passive, 1 into Q, 1 into W to see how it is. So Hedgen, this is honestly a bit of a buff. My opinion, this is a buff overall. I haven't talked again to Hedge and Mains to know exactly. The casting time for Charm and Despair Q is going up, but the delay after is just gone. So it does take 0.13 seconds longer, so they doubled the casting time. But since there's no delay after this, there's no 0.3 second delay. This seems just to me like a buff overall. And there's no delay after casting your 5 omens as well. This is just completely removed. So to me, this is an overall buff. But it's again not to damage, it's just the smoothness of the character or the more quality of life. Hyunwoo Glove Mastery is being buffed. Again, in KR they mainly play Tonfa Hyunwoo, and I think Glove Hyunwoo is actually pretty good as long as you get your transition items, and that's again conditional. So I'm just a little bit worried about buffing Glove Hyunwoo. Because he may actually be like really good. Or they just keep buffing him like what they did to Sua, you know. So now we're into weapons. So guitar satisfaction, lifesteal is going down by 4%. This is because mainly people build satisfaction on heart. Wonderful Tonight's vigor is going. The extra damage is going from 6% of enemies max HP to 4%, and the extra attack power on max stacks is going from 15 to 10. This is like minor nerfs overall. I think Heart will still be S tier even after like her base change and these changes, but I guess it's a start. Hopefully they do a little bit more. Dagger, Cloak and Dagger, the weapons skill duration is actually being buffed for the like how long it lasts. The movement speed increase is being nerfed. Okay, so when I mean buff duration is only at level 2, by the way. Level 2 is going up by 0.5 seconds. But movement speed decrease or increase is going down by 5% at both levels. So they're making level 1 Cloak and Dagger not as strong. Again, they've nerfed this weapon skill a whole bunch since season 1. And that was because Dagger Shukai used to be like really strong. And Cappy was really strong in season 1 as well. So they nerfed Dagger skill a whole lot. So people went rat with it. Even Dagger Jackie was quite strong in season 1 as well. So it's a little ironic, or maybe not ironic, it's just interesting to me that they're going to keep nerfing it again. I think it's mainly just the characters' kits that make them ratty than the weapon skill. The weapon skill just makes it worse, that's all. Swiss Army Knife, this is the rare weapon that turns into Damascus Steel Thorn. The max HP is going down by 20, and Damascus Steel Thorn's max HP is going 30. The only dagger character that builds this weapon is Daniel, so they're trying to nerf Daniel even more to make him not as tanky. Axes, all axes are going down by -7 AP, so I'm assuming this is from common, like even the base axe, all the way to the legendary axe of Pangu. So, again, they're trying to nerf Dagger Axe Jackie, and that's why they buffed Marcus, so he won't be impacted by this change. Nunchuck, so Cerberus is being changed from Sharper plus Nunchuck to Bleeder plus Nunchuck. And for this recipe makes it even more difficult. The attack power is going up by 4, but it's lost heal cut. So I gotta say, no one's building this weapon anymore. I already can tell you. And this is the new weapon everyone's gonna be building, Blue 3. This is an epic. This is Sharper plus Flower of Fate. Flower of Fate makes it a little bit harder of a recipe because you need playing cards, which means you have to go either Hotel or Avenue, but I'm sure you can make it work. The stats on it, I'm just going to let you know that they already did a hotfix on this item because the stats in this are honestly kind of insane. So the attack power in this, it says 59, but it's actually 50. They've already nerfed it by 9 AP. Critical strike chance is 26%, cooldown's 10%, and it has basic attack healing reduction. So this is the main nunchuck now, by the way. Like, there's no the stats on this are so good. I know it has less AP on it than release because I think this was like really broken on launch, which is why they hotfixed it. But I still think regardless, 26% crit, 10% CDR, like this item allows you to not use as much crit, like use a different crit slot than normal, and I think that it gives it a lot more build flexibility and allows Dylan to stack more attack power to make her do even more damage. So yeah, I think Cerberus is kind of killed with this item, and Blue 3 is the way to go. I I haven't tested it yet, but I do plan on testing this as well because I actually like playing Dylan. So yeah, I'll let you know my thoughts on that. I'll probably do a build guide with Blue 3 as well on Dylan, just to, if anyone's at this point in the video, I'm giving you a heads up on it. Lavatine is basic attack amps going up from 1.8% to 2% because, yeah, they're buffing this instead of nerfing Dainsleif for some reason. There's really no reason why they built this over Dainsleif. You should just save your Tree of Life for, like, Blazing Dress, ideally. I don't think Laurel Reef's not good anymore, so, yeah. Whips, Thunder Whips being nerfed. If you don't know why, this is because last patch, Thunder Whip actually had more scaling up than Bloody Ninetales did, and they want to make it so that it won't. They'll be equal at max level, but the stats on Bloody Ninetales are better than Thunder Whip. So yeah. Sniper rifles, they're reducing the basically, just to summarize this, they're just reducing the vision range and everything, like for all the sniper rifles, and I'll point out specific stats. So interventions attack range is going down by 0.5. Attack power on NTW20, this is the scaling up sniper rifle, attack power is going up by 2. They're nerfing intervention because that's what Sniper Eye builds, because the attack range is quite nice, and since it's being nerfed, I expect people to change it and do, like, I don't know, maybe Hawkeye. I could be underestimating this change. I don't think intervention will be nearly as built, that's all. Polaris is being buffed by 2% attack speed. Again, it's not much. Sniper Eye kind of builds this. Not as much as she used to. This is more of a Bernice change. And Deadly Rays losing 2 attack power. This is what Sniper Eye does do. So again, they said the Sniper Eye is really strong in KR. So they're just nerfing the vision range of it and the attack range of intervention mainly. Every other change is kind of overall minor. The chest pieces, Dragon Dobok is actually getting a nerf of 5 AP. Yeah, a lot of like two-handed sword users, I think, like Yuki, maybe a lot. Maybe it's just like Yuki, I think maybe Fiora, more so Yuki than anything, was building this, so they're nerfing it. Changpao's also getting another nerf. Really, honestly, a little bit surprising, but I guess fair enough. It's lost 4% more attack speed. By the way, remember, this used to be at 43% attack speed, and now it's at 33. It's lost 10% attack speed since its changes. Like, it used to be a lot lower. Like, they've re-changed this item a whole bunch of times. But I think Changpao's mainly being nerfed because of Heart and AR characters, and yeah, and Rio as well. Just those auto attackers that build Changpao. They're trying to make them do less damage. So fair enough. I think I guess it makes sense that Changpao's being nerfed. The stats on it were quite nice. It is a quite squishy chest piece, but they just don't want people to do as much damage with it. Diadem's being nerfed. Diadem's being nerfed by 3 AP. Virtuous Outlaw, the Smooth Walker, the new active on it, not active, sorry, passive on it, is being buffed by 2 seconds. And Laurel Reef is getting buffed by 3 AP and 3% more cooldown reduction. So they're trying to make Laurel Reef better than Diadem. Like, they're trying to separate the two and be like, look, if you're building Diadem, you want to build Laurel Reef. And the thing is, though, I think it might be at a point where Virtuous Outlaw is actually better than Diadem. If you don't know, the stats on Virtuous Outlaw are, like, pretty much the same as Diadem's. They both have AP, they both have CDR on them. So this is Virtuous Outlaw, has Smooth Walker on it as well. I'd have to look at the exact stat to see, but I know Virtuous Outlaw is at 22 attack power, so you may actually see more characters use Virtuous Outlaw. Like, I think Dylan might look into building this item. I might try out a build with Dylan. I could be wrong at the strength of Virtuous Outlaw at this point, but it might actually be sleeper item right now because of these changes. So next, Corrupting Touch is rarities being changed from rare to epic because they buffed this item. I haven't seen many people use it. The stats seem pretty good now. The thing is, it's like a slightly weaker drop near damage wise, but it has healing reduction on it instead. The thing is that your arm piece is generally like a really powerful item, and you want to switch off of it eventually to like a good RNG item, whether it's Mithril Shield, Auto Arms, or Bracelet of Scotty. This applies to all characters, even like Amp. This is an Amp item, so even Amp characters will switch to Auto Arms because of the attack power and defense on it. So having your healing reduction slot on your arm is not ideal compared to your accessory, where you have, because you have White Crane Fan or Schrodinger's box. I think White Crane Fan is oversaturated right now, and it's easier to change off your accessory, especially with, I'm gonna mention the new accessory that we'll be talking about, where it's just better to have your accessory as your heal cut than your arm piece, because you want to get off your arm piece. So that's why you probably don't see people run this, and I think healing reduction is really strong stat, and they want it on a piece that they know that they won't switch off to immediately. So that's why you don't see it as much, in my opinion. So accessories, Mithril Quivers being nerfed. Again, this is because auto attackers try to make them a bit more squishy and make them do less damage. So this is more on the squishiness front. So they're losing 3 defense. And here's the new item, Necronomicon. Now, Necronomicon is hardcover plus VF blood sample, and the stats is 30% skill amp, and it has 60% healing reduction for melees, 50% for range. Now, I think this item will be best in slot on a whole bunch of new characters. Me, as a Lennox main, I'm going to tell you this is your best in slot accessory at this point. 30% skill amp is no laughing matter. Ideally, you're going to be on White Crane Fan on Lennox, and you also want to be on Imperial Burgonet, so you're actually not even really using the movement speed from White Crane Fan, because Imperial Burgonet's movement speed is better than White Crane's Fan. So this is literally just a better White Crane Fan, because your healing reduction is going up by 20% for melees. I mean, even 20% for range, but you're getting 19% more skill amp compared to White Crane Fan, which is basically as if you have a bonus drop near, because drop near is 19% skill amp. So expect to see this as best in slot in a lot of characters, and I expect Necronomicon to be nerfed. I think this is a lot of skill amp. I don't know. I know it's a VF item, and all it is skill amp and heal cut, but it's just 30% amp. That's as much skill amp as Bloody Ninetales gives at max level, and the same as Thunder Whip, or max level. Its base stats. Thunder Whip at max level gives 30% amp, Bloody Ninetales gives 30% amp, and then this will get 30% amp. So for Lennox, at least, you're gonna use this item as your first VF, and I expect the same with a lot of other characters as well. Mastery, Weapon Master builds were too efficient, so Weapon Mastery gain from crafting weapons is going down, from crafting uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, from 80 to 320 to 80 to 300. So it's gonna be nerfed slightly by 20, but if you build a lot of weapons, this will actually add up. There are a bunch of builds that do this, so they're trying to make it so that you can't get as much weapon again, not as much weapon mastery. I've seen some builds where they make like 4 weapons before day 2, and they're at like 8 mastery night 1. So they're trying to prevent someone being incredibly overpowered during night 1 and just kind of steamrolling the lobby. So fair enough. And now we're at team mode adjustments. Bonadine damage dealt going up. Nathan Pond is damage going up in squads. Laura's damage dealt going up in squads. You can just read through this. Lennox damage going up in squads. Oh, who would have guessed Lennox not being strong on squads? No one would have thought that. Anyway, you can just scroll through this and see. I'll point out if there's anything significant. Sua damage dealt actually going down. This is mainly because they buffed Sua, so fair enough. Alex is going up again because Alex is not that great right now. And yeah, nothing too much stands for me. I guess Shuriken Hedgen was standing out, so they nerfed her, fair enough. So okay, some Cobalt Protocol changes now. Spawn animation for drones is now faster. Sure, fair enough. Power beacons no longer get disabled for 3 seconds upon being captured by the opposing team. They had this change in because that's how you do consoles or CCTV in like the regular game mode. There's like a delay between you capturing it, but they're removing this in Cobalt Protocol, which is fair enough. Virtuous Outlaw and Corrupting Touch can now appear in the equipment draft. I thought they already said Virtuous Outlaw was appearing, but I guess it wasn't, so sure. Extra equipment draft, you're now allowed to pick one more item, which is, I think, honestly a good change overall, because sometimes you just don't roll and then you're stuck with bad items. So I'm glad they actually gave another draft slot. Currently, you won't be able to draft any more equipment if your inventory is full. We plan to fix this in later patches. This won't be a problem for the majority of the cast. The only problem this will be with would be characters like Alex, I think, where you get to draft an extra item originally. I could be wrong. It's just characters that can draft an additional item slot. But I think even with Alex, and you have your camera, you draft an extra weapon at the beginning, +7, that's only 9 slots. So, but you're also going to draw a new equipment slot, so you'll be at 10. I don't know how you'd get 11 items at this point. But the only one that stood out for me was Alex, where he can actually fill his whole inventory. Other than that. So, Cobalt Blue, Rolling Thunder, this is the active on it, is being nerfed by 5 seconds. I honestly think Miniature Solar System should be the one that gets nerfed more than Cobalt Blue, but regardless, sure. So, Lavatine MK2, or Mark II, new legendary. This is replacing Lavatine and Cobalt Blue. So stats is 48 attack power. And now, game, can you stop, please? Can we stop adding Smolder into the game? Everyone's complaining about Smolder and you're re-adding it. Can we not? Well then, I guess Two-Handed Sword's best weapon has now become Lavatine. Tank Yuki is back into Cobalt Protocol. Very fun. Mark of the Phoenix, same thing. It's replacing it in Cobalt Protocol. They've added Smolder. Blazing Lance, another Smolder. Holy Orders is being replaced, now have 45 AP, 30 defense, 200 HP. This is a huge buff compared to the regular Holy Orders, by the way. Kind of insane. And Totem Mythic. I don't know. Okay, sure. I don't know. Mythic. What is this? Okay. Just replacing Totem and Cobalt Protocol. Oh, you know why? This is a special item you can buy in the shop. That's why. It says here, you can purchase from the Synthesizer for 125 credits. So it's like Miniature Solar System and Cobalt Blue. So this is 28 AP, 20 defense, 25 attack speed, and Resprite, which is the stasis active, and has a 55-second cooldown. So fair enough putting it here. You can only have one copy of this item across team members. The same with all the other ones. So yeah, I'm really disappointed that Smolder's added back in the game. Luckily, it's only in Cobalt Protocol, but I don't know why they keep adding it. This item should not, or this stat just needs to be removed because you don't want 10 characters to just do more damage. I understand the principle. They added it to counter 10 characters, but all it does is make 10 characters do damage. So, yeah. Just remove it, please. Okay, infusion changes. Martyr. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. 10 to 40% damage dealt based on missing HP is now going to 20 to 45%. Celerity. I may pronounce that as well. Attack speed is going up from 25. Sorry, it's being changed from 25 to 40% to 20 to 40%, so it's just lower at level 1. Strike Force effect changes. Before, it was the movement speed increase upon reaching the deploying loop. It is now upon passing through an acceleration reflex parameter. Your next basic attack within 4 seconds deals 30 to 100 additional true damage and slows them by 20 to 30% for 2 seconds. Yeah, this has just been completely changed. Interesting. I haven't played Cobalt Protocol yet since these changes. I'll be playing that. I might be playing it today, maybe playing tomorrow, I'm not too sure. Overcharge. The power beacon effects are boosted from 8 to 20% to 40 to 80%. This is a huge boost, by the way. This was honestly really weak, so it makes sense. Dull Blaze durations going up by 2 seconds. Party Rocker cooldowns being reduced by 8 seconds. Valkyrie Drive cooldowns being increased by 10 seconds. I hate this item, by the way. Please remove it. Or this infusion. I think this infusion is like the strongest infusion in the game. It literally can what they try to do with this infusion, by the way, is they wanted to make it so it's like a get out of jail free card, where when you're trapped in a bad situation between like a bunch of people, you get out and live. But what ends up happening is that when you're fighting someone, you just turn around and you kill them. So like, let's say like A and B are fighting. B has Valkyrie drive. A ends up killing B, but B has Valkyrie drive, so they come back to health with movement speed, with a shield, and a little bit of HP as well. And then B kills A. And so A got 0 points from that because Valkyrie drive made them not actually die, and B managed to get a point for their team. So I hate this infusion so much. Okay. Miasma Fog, movement speed reductions going from 20 to 60% to 20 to 65%, so it's 5% better at level 3. Omnipotence base skill amp going from 5 to 15% to 6 to 12%. Makes sense, honestly. This one felt really strong, by the way, this infusion. Barricade gain 10 to 35 additional defense and 5 to 15% Omni-Sight when below 50%. This is now being changed to 40 to 100 additional defense and 10 to 20% Omni when below 35%. So it's doesn't active as, it's not on as much, but when it is active, it's a lot stronger, at least defensively. The Omni is not much different, but cooldown reduction, so it's going from 8 to 20% to 6 to 15%. The cap is the exact same, so this will increase the cap by 10% still, but you won't get as much cooldown reduction just by having this infusion. I think this infusion is also one of the strongest in the game too, because 50% CDR on a lot of characters is kind of insane. Like on Sua, on Priya you can have infinite shields if you get this infusion with like Queen of Hearts or Prominence or even Taproots. So this is one of the strongest infusions in the game. Plasma Nova's cooldown is being reduced by 5 seconds. Okay. Cobalt mode adjustments, I'll point out if anything stands out to me here as being significant. Bernice damage going down, makes sense. Ultimate cooldown is being nerfed, I guess that's fair enough. Sniper Eye's damage going down. I think Sniper Eye was like S tier in this mode, so fair enough. They're buffing Echion in this mode. I don't think he needs a buff, but sure. William's damage is going down, again, makes sense. Recovery given from 11 is being buffed. I don't think 11 needed a buff in this mode, but okay. Axe Jackie getting buffed, okay, fair enough. Ultimate cooldown reduction, Chloe's being nerfed. Again, Chloe's like S tier in this mode, so it makes sense. Damage dealt from Heart's going down, and again, makes sense. Heart's so broken, it's not even funny. But they nerfed Heart in general, so that's why they didn't nerf it too much, but I think Heart's still gonna be mega broken. Okay, so now we're at bug fixes and improvements. Wickeline's aggro gauge now works as intended. Wickeline's aggro gauge now displays as intended, so there was like this huge issue of Wickeline last patch where sometimes when you aggroed Wickeline, instead of aggroing onto you, even if you're like closer to the person and you like actually like step in the goo and such, and you were close enough for Wickeline to actually aggro, it would run to a person that's farther away from Wickeline and start attacking them, which is very weird because like you can change aggro between whoever's closest to Wickeline, the opponent, but even if the opponent was farther away from Wickeline than you were, it would sometimes just randomly run towards the opponent and then you'd lose Wickeline. So I'm glad this change was fixed because that was kind of game breaking in my opinion. Dogman has started out bus players intended when reviving in duo squads. Okay, fair enough. Electron Blaster's tilt out levels out no longer shows excessive decimal places. That's kind of funny, not gonna lie. Matchmaking as a pre-made duo now guarantees same phase 1 area spawn, no more getting separated. This is really good. I don't know why this is a thing in the first place, but I'm glad they changed that. And spectator mode, the team colors now match the life point UI colors. This is also a really good change for like tournament view because it was so confusing beforehand. And so yeah, character weapon improvements. Again, I'm not going to go read through them. I'll point out if there's anything significant, but feel free to pause the video and read them yourself. Okay, Sylvia casting radar gun to an allied Chloe. Nina now recovers Nina's HP. I guess that one's kind of funny. Eleven's ground beef spider can now be consumed by an allied Chloe's Nina. That's also funny. Yeah, nothing else really stands out to me for their lobby improvements. Added a public firm purchase when attempting version store. Again, you can just read these. If anything significant, I will point it out. Yeah, nothing. Watching character animation in the lobby no longer increases GPU. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this patch. Let me know what you guys think about the patch. I think overall for me, there wasn't too much balance changes in this patch. A lot of the changes felt really minor, and I don't think the meta is going to be changed too much. The only thing that stands out to me is Blue 3 being really strong on Dylan, as well as Necronomicon being strong on the majority of spellcasters. Everything else kind of felt minor, and I do think Marcus will be more of a threat this patch than he has been. But other than that, I don't really think there's too much to this patch. Karla's actually, by the way, usable. She's not weak. I'd say she's average. That's my thoughts on her so far, but I'll be doing more of a video, like a more of an in-depth video on Karla. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more Turn content, and I hope to see you at the next video. Bye-bye.